You are listening to the Mark Guzman Podcast Experience. We have had many realtor teams on Real Realtors. Today, we are joined by husband and wife team of Marco and Vanessa Rodriguez, who own Genesis Real Estate and mainly cover West Contra Costa County. Together, they have created a team dynamic that centers around their clients, family, and faith. In this episode, we dive into how their team dynamic operates, how they are growing their brokerage, how they navigate the Bay Area market, and what they do to give back to their communities. All right, so I want to thank Vanessa and Marco for being here on the podcast. So welcome.
Appreciate it. Thanks for having us, man.
Yeah, and actually, let's get the mic closer to you. Yeah,
Okay.
There you go.
There it is.
Yeah, you can tighten that.
There it is.
Yeah,
Sit close.
perfect. Okay, well, thank you guys for coming to the podcast. I know you guys are both really, really busy with your company, and so thank you for taking the time to do this.
Thank you for having
Thanks
us.
for having us, man.
So let's get started. You guys are a husband and wife team.
Yes.
Now, how does that work? Because you hear great stories. You also hear nightmare stories of husband and wife teams.
Yes, definitely.
That's true. That's true. What do you want to say about that, Vanessa?
Well, sometimes I feel like throwing my computer over his head.
But at least over his head,
Over,
not at him.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, it's challenging sometimes, but it's nice at the same time because we spend more time together, and we have the same vision. So I really enjoy my time with him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So one thing I can say is that it's a privilege, man, because I mean we all know that real estate has got one of the highest divorce rates, because people are away from home, away from family. So the cool thing about it, working with your wife, is that you can go through your struggles, your visions, your goals together as a marriage, and then at the same time you can just comprehend one another, like what's going on. So to me, it's a big blessing. I mean, we don't get me wrong. Sometimes we get into it because we sit in the same office, but overall, it's pretty cool, man. I love it.
So what are some of the biggest challenges that you would deal with as a husband-wife team?
Husband-wife team, I would say not taking things home. Like you get into, like if you have any issues at the office or problems, make sure you leave it there. You don't take it home. That's one of the biggest challenges.
So I would imagine communication is really big between the two of you.
Yes,
Very, yeah.
very important.
Very important, yeah. I mean, you have to be able to communicate because I think at the end of the day, if you're not on the same page, you start to fall into some problems.
Now, I know your company, Genesis Real Estate, is newer, but I didn't realize you've already had the company open for 6 years. Yeah, so congratulations on that.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
And you have about 15 agents, you were saying.
15 agents, yep. 15 agents. Genesis is relatively new here in the market. I think it's a small mom and pop shop, but I think that what Genesis, what makes us a little different is some of our fundamentals. I mean, especially our faith. We put God above, and in everything that we do, we always try to use a company not only to service people, but also let people know what our faith, what our belief is. So I think that's one of the things that kind of makes us a little different. Now,
did I hear right? You also opened up another office in Berkeley. Is that correct?
Yeah, we have a small little branch in Berkeley. It's more like a little satellite. So it's there. We've been open for about 10 months.
Yeah.
About 10 months. So it's relatively new. Yeah.
Okay. So the main office is in Richmond. You have a satellite in Berkeley. Where do you sell most of the properties?
I would say
in this area. Mostly.
Yeah.
West Contra Costa?
West County, pretty much.
Yeah, trying to expand out to Alameda, Berkeley, Oakland.
We definitely want to get into that marketplace, man. We see the prices out there. We're like, man, we can sell one in Berkeley. That's like 3 out here. So
yeah.
So we definitely want to go out that way.
But it's a lot more competitive with agents.
Exactly.
It's a lot more competitive.
Because I can't tell you how many times I've seen, and especially when I was at Security Pacific, how many agents would leave there to go to like Walnut Creek and Oakland areas because they saw those higher numbers and they said, oh, I could sell one of those. And like you said, it's 3 houses in Richmond, right?
Exactly.
But the problem is everyone's trying to do that.
Yes.
And if you look at, and what's interesting is if you look at the average income from real estate agents in Richmond and compare them to average income of agents in Danville, Lafayette, Oakland, Richmond agents make about $3,000 more.
Yeah. And it's curious that you say that, because what happens is we get tied into the purchase price. But see, we have more volume here. We have more transactions here. There's less inventory.
And it gives you more
there.
experience.
More experience, yeah. So I think overall, I mean, our income levels, like you said, a little higher sometimes than the ones out in those areas too.
Yeah, it's very easy to work areas where everyone's trying to avoid.
That's true.
That's true.
That's right.
Yeah,
That's true.
So do you work mainly with buyers or sellers?
both. We do both, sellers and buyers, but majority of times, we work a lot with buyers
Yeah.
too. Yeah,
What's your favorite to work with?
I like both. We
Yeah.
like challenge.
I think we
Yeah.
like both, but at the end of the day, what's more gratifying, to be honest with you, is a buyer, especially first-time buyers.
Yeah.
For people that we had a couple, they're also from Salvador,
Yeah.
the sisters last year. They came to this country 5 years ago. They never thought they can purchase a property. They got pre-approved, FHA, got the keys in hand. It was just
You should see
awesome
their
experience.
face.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah,
great to hear
so
stories
happy.
like
yeah,
that.
man. It was
Yeah.
like, it's not even about the commission. It's not about anything else. It's just that moment to give keys to someone that lived 5 years. That's amazing, man.
Yes.
Yeah.
So that to me is the more gratifying thing. That's why buyers a little bit more gratifying. Sellers, obviously, it's cool because
It's easier.
it's easier, but it's more gratifying with a buyer.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, I had someone here on the show a couple weeks ago, and they were like, having a listing is like a guaranteed paycheck in this market right now.
It is. Yep.
Yeah, so that's always basically nice to have, right?
It's true, man.
Now, when you opened up the office, what were some of the challenges that you faced 6 years ago? I mean, we're talking now 2012 when you opened then.
Yes, 2012. Well, we didn't even know like all the things that we needed to get, like the license and all that stuff, paint, the office. We did a lot of work,
Yeah.
and
We did a lot of work ourselves. To be honest with you, in 2012, we didn't know what we were doing. I'm just gonna keep it real, man. What happened is we were at Prudential. We were there for almost 10 years, and we just wanted some change, man. So we just said, let's gather a group of our friends. It was Margarita,
Stacy, Amy.
and then it was us, and we just formed Genesis. So Genesis was pretty much formatted overnight, man. And we just kind of jumped in. Roxanne actually helped us get the lease where we're at right now. And we saw her post, and we were like, man, this is a cool place.
We should go check it out.
Go check it out. And then
that's how it started.
that's pretty much it. So we made a lot of mistakes, man, in the beginning. We did a lot. We had a lot of errors. There's a lot of things we could have done better. But you know what? At the end of the day, it taught us a lot, man. We got a lot of lessons, experience. And just to have something that we can call our own was something that was beautiful, man. So,
Now, I know the two of you are religious, and you said it earlier that you really focus on having God in your business. Is that how you came up with the name, Genesis?
Genesis was it was actually made by Margarita. Margarita Miranda was the one that thought of Genesis. We were struggling. What are we going to call a brokerage? And she came up with the name Genesis. We agreed. Genesis just pretty much means the beginning of something. So perfect, so.
Isn't it funny how the name is always one of the toughest things to come up
Yeah.
with?
You're like, what are we going to call our company, man?
Yeah.
But definitely, man, the beginning of something. It's been the beginning of something great. So here we are, 6 years, and been blessed, man.
Yeah, congratulations again. Now, how do you recruit agents? So in the past episodes of Real Realtors, I've had mainly agents that have talked about their business. So being that you're a broker and company owner, I want to pick your brain a little bit on how you recruit and how you keep agents. So let's get into recruiting. How do you recruit agents?
You want to touch on that, Vanessa?
Well, actually, we don't like to use the word recruiting. We like to attract. We like to show people what is Genesis all about, like our trainings, all the work that we do. We like to have a nice atmosphere at the office. Everything is fun. We help each other. We're like a family. So that's mostly what we pretty much.
So, yeah, just kind of piggyback on what Vanessa said. I think recruiting is not really the word we like to use, because recruit to me is somebody that, let's say you're going to go enlist in the Army. You got these Army recruiters. They're going to be calling you constantly, try to bring you into the office and just constantly harass you pretty much. I think in real estate, I've noticed that a lot of people go after agents and they kind of just get to the point where they actually, instead of doing good, they actually annoy the agents.
Yeah, it's spam.
Yeah, it's just like, oh man, this guy's trying to recruit me. So more or less what we try to do is just expose to them what we're all about, show them our culture, show them our beliefs, and then let them know what we can do to help you in your business. And if that's a good fit, come on and let's talk. If it's not, it's all good. You know, there's a lot of other companies that offer a lot of different things, but at our company, I think our training, our culture, our beliefs, our integrity, that's kind of what attracts people that want to stay. And I think just being more involved with agents, I think that's key as broker owners. I think we have to be involved. I mean, knowing what their struggles are, not just in business, but sometimes outside of business, personal life. You know, we need to know what that looks like. We need to know that they can count on us for anything. We had a recent cool experience on Friday where an agent was going to go, you know, they were going to go through a situation where it involved the legality, and all we did was just say, you know, you want us to pray for you. We shut the door, and Vanessa led us in prayer, and that was it, man. So you don't really get that in your typical brokerage. So I think that was really inspiring for the agent to be like, man, this is kind of cool. I can come and I can open myself as far as what I'm going to go through. But at the same time, here we are asking God's grace that he might be able to help you in your situation. So I think that's what makes us a little different.
So building that company culture is really important.
Very big, yes.
Now, I would imagine that same company culture is what keeps agents on board with you, right?
Definitely. Yep.
Yes.
Now, do you provide training to agents coming in? What's that look like?
So training, we have a variety of training. We have training where we do one-on-one trainings. For instance, if an agent wants to know how to get buyers, get sellers, marketing, social media, we have all those different types of trainings. But we also have trainings where it involves actually us getting together and doing like role playing, like what to say. There's a Tom Ferry's got a training called What You Say Matters, right? So what we want to do is we want to expose that training to the agents, let them know that what you tell the clients
matters.
It matters. You know how you say it. It's not always what you say. It's just how you say it. You know, do you have energy? Do you have low energy? Are you positive? Are you negative? These are the things that I think that agents can appreciate, that we can kind of bring to the table and help them in their business. So training is very important.
Yeah. Now, foreclosures. Do you come across many foreclosures these days?
These days, not as much.
Not many. Vanessa had she had a record-breaking, man. She had a short sale for over a year. Gosh. She hung in there. So it was a pre-foreclosure, but we were able to help the client, guide them, and avoid foreclosure. So that was pretty cool.
And it took over a year?
It took over a year, 5 buyers.
Yeah, 5 buyers.
And finally.
Oh, so it wasn't delayed because the bank was taking a long time to get back to you.
They did take a long time. Yes, some banks are very difficult to work with, and that's why buyers keep walking away. But this last one decided to stay, and that's how we closed it. But yeah, the bank was giving us a hard time at the beginning.
Yeah, that's one thing. Short sales, I mean, really tough. I mean, I've been in business now 15 years, but I remember short sales becoming very popular when the market started to tank.
Yeah.
Yes.
And that was very difficult to handle because those were completely just a different animal. But then they came in and streamlined it, and it became a lot easier.
Definitely.
Remember, we had to use those third-party negotiators because it was just too complicated.
It was too difficult to get.
Yeah, we did a whole bunch of short sales. Vanessa was a pro in 2007 and 2008, and she was just getting those things done. I'm like, man, go ahead, because short sales is entire
a lot of time consuming.
But that was the way to survive, though. If you couldn't get into the foreclosure REO market, you had to do short sales. Definitely. Otherwise, you weren't making any money.
That's true. That's true, man. Those were rough years, man.
Yeah.
2007 and 2008, yeah.
Yeah, but I think if you got out of those rough years, you just learned so much. You know, so much about, hustling, hard work, and just perseverance to get through it.
That's true.
So how do you answer the question? Because there are still a lot of buyers that want to come in and they still have the idea of buying a foreclosure or buying something at the court step. Do you represent buyers that way? Like take them to the courthouse, give them a list of properties they could buy, and help represent them there?
Yeah, well, one of the things that we tell, first of all, I think education for our buyers is very important, very key. I think if they want to go to the court steps, they better have some money, Again, buyers, they don't understand the concept of going into the court, sometimes even going on the online auctions. There's going to be properties that are being sold with tenants in place, occupants in place. They've got to make sure they understand all the risks. So we just try to educate them. We tell them that there's other properties that aren't on the MLS, but they're, you can go online and bid on them. But you got to make sure that they understand. And if they're cool with it, let's go and represent you. We sold a couple homes through the auction process. So, foreclosures, are good. If the buyer understands the risk, then let's go for it.
Yeah, I think that's the biggest problem is buyers don't really fully understand all the risks. I remember back, this was 2008 or 9, I had a foreclosure up in Napa, but it was a mobile home on a piece of land, and it was a big chunk of land, and we had problems selling this foreclosure, and so the bank basically put it into an auction, right? And that was always lovely, right? They take it from you, put it into auction, and you get a lovely $200 check.
Yeah, I know.
But you're still responsible for it. So I had to actually go to court afterwards for it, because what happened was the buyer bought it cash, sight unseen, didn't do inspections, and the next winter season we had a ton of rain, and the mobile home slipped and went down the hillside.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. And we ended up winning the case because he basically bought it sight unseen. He signed off on all disclosures. And our attorney was pretty funny. He says, so you bought a mobile home and you're upset that it moved.
Oh, that's hilarious.
Yeah.
Because it's mobile, right?
Exactly.
Wow, that's funny.
Yeah. So what are some challenges you're facing today in working with some buyers here in the Bay Area?
I would say, the market right now is very competitive.
Yeah.
Multiple offer situation. They gotta go high on price. Sometimes they can't go that much. And
okay, so how do you consult a buyer, a new buyer coming in? There are some buyers that want to get a steal, right?
Oh, always.
Yeah,
all the time.
So how do you handle, or how do you educate that buyer in today's market?
One of the things that I tell buyers is I tell them that we need to just look at the market for what it is. Then we start looking at properties in their price range, comparables. We start saying, hey, these prices are selling 5, 7, 10% over list price. And then also, on the MLS, it says the number of offers that certain properties have. So certain agents will put, 10, 15, 20. Look at these MLS printouts. They had 15 offers. They had 12. They had 20. So realistically, if that property is listed for $500,000, you're not going to get it for $450,000. Yeah. You got to go above and beyond that list price. You got to be competitive. You got to put a strong deposit. You got to remove certain contingencies, like whatever we got to do. And then also it boils down to relationships, man. You don't know, and I'm sure you in the same boat as I am, but you don't know how many times you've got an offer accepted just because of the relationship you have with the other agent on the other side. Where there's 10, 15 offers, but your relationship with the other agent is what mattered, and that's what got you in the door.
Yeah, and just to explain to some of the listeners that don't really know it from our point of view, and it's not that we're trying to steer people away from certain agents, but when you're a listing agent and you're presenting offers to a seller, and the seller says, have you ever worked with any of these agents? Well, it's way more powerful when you can say, I've worked with this person and he closes every deal, or this guy's on top of his game. I can't guarantee it's going to close, but I know they're on top of it.
Exactly.
I've never worked with this person, or even worse, I've worked with this person and he bombs every single deal.
Yeah, that's what you don't want.
You don't want
to be that
reputation.
No.
Is very key.
Yeah, very key. So I think in today's market, I think having a good reputation, when people hear your name, they hear your company, they hear anything about you, it's got to be attached with a good reputation. So I think that's also what's been helping. And above and beyond, God's grace, man. If it's meant to be, no matter what happens, he's going to open the doors and it'll happen. So.
Yeah, and going back to knowing who the other agent is, sometimes, especially if you're a newer agent, you don't have enough transactions under your belt in order to have that kind of relationship to where someone knows you're a closer or you do a good job. And that's why I tell people you need to network. You need to get involved in the industry. You need to get to know other colleagues, because if they don't know you based on a transaction, then they get to know you because, hey, they've gotten to know you over,
on a personal level, for sure. Yeah. Yes. Network is very key. Networking is very important. There's a saying that says, I can tell person's net worth by their network. So in other words, like the people that you know, the people that know about you, obviously that's going to equivalent to dollar signs, because you have a strong network. So you got a network in this business.
Yeah. Now, we're all friends on social media, and I've seen you guys go with some of your agents even to networking events, which is pretty neat, because you don't see many brokers actually do that. You don't see many brokers go with their agents to various events.
Well, I think you got to kind of lead by example, man. I mean, if you tell agents go network,
but you don't go,
and you don't go, they're gonna look at you like, you're telling me it's important, but you're not doing it. So,
it's hard to make them drink the Kool-Aid when you're not drinking it yourself, right?
There you go, man. So it's important. Gotta lead by example, for sure.
Now, I do property management, and one of the big debates is, do I rent or do I buy? Is it cheaper to rent or cheaper to buy? So how do you educate your clients on whether they should rent or whether they should buy?
What would you say, Vanessa?
Well, I will say that it's always better to put your money in something that is going to be yours in the future. And it's almost, I think, that rentals with the housing, it's about the same.
Yeah, in many areas it's about the same. So let's say, for instance, the way that I explain to potential buyers also, I say, how much are you paying in rent? Average rent here, what, $1,800-$1,800. So let's see what would that equivalent in a purchase. So we start doing the numbers, and then how much are you going to be able to save on taxes when you're able to write off your interest on your loan. Renting, you get zero. So we start doing the math, and then we come to the conclusion that over long-term wise, rents, they keep escalating. By the time right now you can fix your mortgage 30 years, and you know that you're locked in for 30 years. So what is your rental amount is going to look like in 2, 3, 4, 5 years? Whoever didn't purchase in 2008 or 9 because they thought that the mortgages were too high, I can bet that their rent is a lot higher than what their purchase price would have been in that time. So me and Vanessa were talking the other day. We had a client that walked away from a San Pablo purchase for $160,000. They just felt like it was too high.
Yeah.
$160,000. What's the mortgage on that? $1,300-$1,400. And I'm sure now what they're paying in rent, man, it's gonna far exceed that price. So
yeah, 2 bedrooms in San Pablo are going for $1,800-$1,900.
Yeah. So they felt like it was too high at that time. And then now I asked myself, what are they probably thinking now? They walked away from a $160,000 purchase. It was actually a 3-bedroom, 1 bath.
Yeah, it was.
So just imagine.
So around that would be $2,200-$2,300 nowadays.
There you go. Yeah. So, so I think just educating, letting people know what's your rental, what are you paying currently on rent versus how does that look like on a mortgage, and just comparing rents. Unless you're in Richmond, rent control, or Berkeley, San Francisco, San Paulo, no rent control. The owner can come in, raise the rents, and you're kind of stuck.
Yeah, and I think people, they get into the habit of trying to think very short term. Like, oh, if I buy it now, how much equity am I going to make in a few years? Or my immediate payments, right? Everyone's thinking short term, whereas if you really think on the long term, well, how long are you going to live at the property? How long are you going to hold on to the property? Because the reality is, if you're going to live at the property for 10, 15, 20 years, you're going to be okay in the long term. You don't, that's plenty of years to go through a couple of cycles.
Definitely. And they're paying down on the principal while they're at it, so it doesn't matter whatever happens to the market, they're still always going to be paying down the principal balance. A lot of people don't understand that over 20 years, the majority, you've already pretty much paid off the majority of the interest. Now you're going to be digging into the principal. So
yeah,
it just makes sense.
Yeah. Now let's talk about community involvement. How much do you get involved with the community, individually or as a company?
I think as a company, we're pretty involved. We're gonna be having. There's this lady that's running in office. Her name is Buffy. She's gonna be coming on April 6th to our office to kind of explain what her vision is. So we try to be involved with people that are running for office. We're also
What office is she running for?
it's one of the districts.
Okay.
She's out in the. She covers everywhere from Hercules to Oakland, and everything in between. So she's one of our good friends. His name is Uche. He was running for a city of mayor of Richmond and also council member. So we were supporting him when he was running for office. Now he presented us the opportunity to host this event for Buffy. She's going to be coming on April the 6th. So we try to be involved in things of that nature, try to support our local people. We also have community involvement with 4 different organizations. We have EdFund, Ecoviva, Samaritans Purse, and Child's Hope. So we try to be involved. Some of our commissions, we donate a percentage to these organizations to kind of give back.
And what do these organizations do?
So let's say EdFund, they're here in West County. They cover from Hercules all the way to Richmond, everything in between. It's a nonprofit organization where they help with grants and scholarships to minorities, especially Latin and African American, because we know that sometimes, I mean, I'm speaking for myself from a Latino background. Sometimes our parents, they don't know any better that in order for us to really succeed in life, we really need to have that education. So I think that's where we fall short. So these organizations, they kind of help the minorities to help them go to college. Sometimes money is an issue at home. And scholarships, grants, all these great things that they believe in to kind of impulse these folks to go to school and get a higher education, man. It's proven, man, that the higher education you have, the more money you're going to make, the more, the better chances you're going to have to stay out of trouble. The lower education, you have a higher risk to get in trouble. Just, it just kind of, it's like a domino effect, man, but education is very key. So we really appreciate what they do, so we support them. We have Ecoviva, too. We're both from El Salvador. I was born in El Salvador. Vanessa was born in El Salvador.
My dad's from El Salvador.
That's from El Salvador? Oh, that's right. That's right. And the other half is...
Guatemalteco.
All right.
Central America.
Yeah, so very proud, man, to be Salvadorian. We love our people, love our country. So Ecoviva is an organization. They're based out in Oakland, where they believe in political justice, peace, and help our country kind of be self-sufficient. So they provide them with education, tools, agriculture, things of that nature to help people be self-sufficient in El Salvador. And the last 2, Child's Hope and Samaritans Purse, they're a very big organization. They're a Christian organization, so we definitely support them. They're able to help people not only with the spiritual needs, but also the physical needs, giving them clothes, food, and shelter. And Child's Hope is driven to orphans and people that probably lost their parents in a disaster. So we really appreciate these 2 organizations. So that's kind of a little bit of our involvement in our community.
So how do you encourage realtors to get involved?
Well, you know how you say the more that you give, the more you receive. So we believe that everyone can give. It doesn't matter if it's a little bit, if it's a lot, but I believe that everyone has a capacity to be able to give. So the more you give, the more you receive. It's just...
and it's not always monetary. You can give your time.
You can give your time, exactly. Yeah. You give your time, you give part of your money. I mean, just be involved.
Different ways.
Different ways. There's a scripture that says that freely you have received, so freely give. So, we're given so much. I mean, here in the United States, man, we're blessed. We compare this to our countries. We're super blessed. We can pick up and go eat anywhere we want to. Chinese food, American food, Salvadorian food.
Yeah, we went throw
food away. So it's like we need to cherish this. We're so blessed here, and that we need to think about people that don't have it, how we have it here in the United States. So we definitely can give, like you said, our time, be able to mentor a kid or just, people that are going through hard times, or, be able to help them monetarily too. We can do that.
Yeah, I think more people focus on what they already had and gratitude. It goes a long way in changing that mindset, and then in even deciding, okay, now I can give back a bit more. You know, my situation may not even be ideal, but you know, I'm happy for what I have. Just gratitude.
Gratitude, man. Gratitude is the best attitude, man. That's for sure. Because when you're grateful, man, it doesn't matter how much you have or how little you have. You're grateful just being alive, you know, just being able to breathe, being here in the U.S. Just these are many, but being able to move, man, talk. We take those things for granted, man. And I say that from personal experience, because there's been times where, you know, everything is going good, and all of a sudden you have a health issue or you have something that just kind of went south, and then you're like, man, I took my health for issue. I mean, I took my health for granted, or I took this for granted. But when that's taken from you, then all of a sudden you'll be grateful for it, man.
Yeah.
So.
Okay, so new agents coming into the business. What's the biggest tip you can provide to them?
New agents.
Wow.
Get
so
to work.
So many things to be was out there, no?
Yeah.
To be out there.
I think just
Marketing.
for new agents, one of the best tips that I can give a new agent is being positive. Things don't, I mean, you've been in the business 15 years. I've been in the business 15 years. Vanessa, 13 years. It took time to get your reputation out there. It took time to get where we're at right now. I'm not saying that we're in a place where it's like, oh, wow, we made it. No, we haven't made it. We still have our struggles every day. We still have our hardships every day. We still have our moments where we look at ourselves and we're like, man, this was a tough day.
Yeah.
But today, you know, whatever happens today, there's always tomorrow. You know, so, and new agent, they always have to make sure that they, one, stay positive, get inspired, have faith, and just keep plugging away, man, every day. You can never control your results, but you can control your activity. So you got to plug away every day, whatever it is, door knocking, making calls, networking. But over time, it's going to happen.
Don't giving up.
Not giving up, man. That's for sure.
Keep pushing forward.
Keep pushing forward, yeah. And having somebody that's your fan, man. You know, like everybody needs a fan. My fan, when I started, I was 23 years old when I started real estate. And I remember I had a lot of discouraging moments, 3 months, no escrows, left and right. People were selling in our office. I'm looking at them like, man, you guys are just selling houses like hotcakes. What's going on with me, right? Like, why am I not selling? To the point where I questioned my mom. I sat down at a table like this, and I told my mom, I said, Mom, I'm giving up in real estate. Nothing is happening. I don't have any deals. I don't have any clients. You know my background. And she's like, son, I didn't raise a quitter. You are not going to give up. Keep doing what you're doing every day. Something's going to happen. Then after that, I had my first deal, closed it, and after that I had 9 deals in the pipeline.
Wow.
And then I told my mom, I said, Mom, I really appreciate you not giving up on me. And that's been my inspiration, man. And now my wife, you know, got my beautiful wife right here, part of the team. I'm just super blessed, man. Just have my wife, my mom, and just having our agents, you know. So God's been good.
So get someone on your side to be a fan.
Yeah.
Yes.
Definitely.
Amen. Yeah.
Yeah.
Great. Well, thanks for being on the podcast.
For sure, man.
Lots of really good info here.
Thank you.
And
thank you for having us.
Thank you for having us, man. It's been great just being able to chit-chat and kind of go down memory lane.
Yeah.
Memory lane.
Congratulations on your business and all the future endeavors.
Appreciate it. Thanks for having us, Mark. Likewise.
Thank you so much for listening to the podcast. Thank you to our producer, Sam Lubman. Please subscribe, like, comment, and share the podcast. Remember, you can listen to the podcast on iTunes, Podbean, iHeartRadio, Google Play, SoundCloud, and anywhere else you listen to podcasts. For more information on my business as a property manager and real estate team, go visit my website at markguzman.com. I really want to thank all of you for listening. It means the world to me, and I hope today's episode provides you value in your day-to-day life. I created this podcast to help showcase the many great people that live in this world and help share some knowledge that I've learned along the way in life. Again, Thank you for listening. Check out our sponsors, and I'll catch you on the next episode.